Hello everyone, this is Potato Sourdough. Today I'm excited to bring you something very special. We're diving into the ultimate tier list for Sword of Convallaria, based on the comprehensive analysis by an official Chinese content creator named Li Lao. Huge shout out to him for all the hard work that went into creating this ranking. I've translated and transcribed his content from Bili, so if you want to check out the original videos, I'll have the links in the description. Alright, without further ado, let's get into it. Before diving into the rankings, let's talk about the criteria. Li Lao established a set of rules to evaluate each character, which he divided into 4 dimensions. Daily activities, this includes map clearing and tower climbing scenarios, PvP, where the characters shine in competitive play, boss strategies focused on Tower of Adversity and similar challenges, usage cost, how resource intensive it is to develop and use the character. Each dimension is scored from 1 to 10, with each specific criteria for each scoring range. For example, to score a perfect 10, a character must have certain mechanism or abilities that set them apart. Once the scores are in, he created 3 main ranking lists. A ranking that excludes cost, a ranking that excludes PvP, a combined ranking of all 4 dimensions. This way, no matter what kind of player you are, whether you're a whale who pulls for every new character to 5-star or someone who never touches PvP, there's a ranking list that suits your needs. The original tier list was created before Li Lao scored characters like Shaklulu, Rawia Alter, Agatha, Tyr, Pamina, Tristan, and Layla. Since then, he has scored up to Pamina. In this video, I'll be including the scores for Shaklulu, Rawia Alter, Agatha, Tyr, and Pamina. However, Tristan and Layla will not be included in the scores for now. Alright, let's dive into the first scoring dimension, daily map clearing. Daily map clearing evaluates a character's performance in routine content, from general levels to more challenging dungeons like Tower of Adversity. In easy stages, we want characters who clear quickly, hit multiple targets, and have good mobility. In tougher content, we need characters whose effectiveness isn't tied to raw stats, but can control the battlefield with unique mechanism, like tanking or summoning. Scoring breakdown. 10 to 8 points goes to characters that are less reliant on stats, capable of wide area damage and providing valuable mechanics. 7 to 4 points, more stat-dependent characters ranked by their mobility and output. 3 to 1 points, characters with limited movement or no displacement skills, struggling to reach the battlefield in time. So, let's take a look at the results. At 10 points, we have Momo. She is the ultimate map clearing machine with durability, wide area damage, and versatile mechanics like Poison Burst and Push-Pull skills. At second place, we have Rawia Alter, a high-speed seeker from 3.0 patch. She excels with reactivation mechanics, stacking vigor to increase damage, and can deal substantial area damage. She's versatile and crucial in the current meta, especially for high-speed strategic plays. Next, we have Sophia. She doesn't care who you are. If you're marked, you're as good as dead. If not, you might just get lucky. Her one-turn dodge lets her tank any burst in any dungeon, and when it's time to counter, she unleashes a ruthless and unflinching assault. That's why she's known as the Queen of Marks. I'll be creating detailed guides for these characters as soon as their banners become available on our server. Alright, let's take a look at the runner-ups. Sitting at 8 points, we've got 9 strong contenders. First up, August the Killing Machine. Agatha, the big bad werewolf with buffs, debuffs, and serious DPS. Of course we can't forget our best girl, Gloria. And Alexei, the undying tank who can hold his ground for 2 rounds in toughest dungeons. We've also got Beryl, easily dishing out great damage, Coco, our best support tank and saint, Pamina, the counterattack queen, Tahir, the best support ever, and finally our current top tier support, Inanna. Moving on to the 7 and 6 point range, we have solid performers like Call and Lily. These two can consistently take down enemies, but they might be a bit stat dependent or limited to single target or AoE attacks. Then in the 5 and 4 point range, we find useful but replaceable characters. They might rely on terrain or need some warm-up time. They're decent, but they don't quite offer the versatility you'd find in higher tiers. And lastly, at 3 points and below, we have characters with significant limitations, whether it's short movement ranges or heavily reliance on stats. They're still usable, but not the most efficient for clearing maps. Let's move on to PvP score. In PvP scenarios, terrain kills are king. That's why characters who can push enemies or avoid being pushed are so important. Wide area instant kills also play a crucial role. Displacement mechanisms are game changers too, like moving enemies to the edge of a cliff or dropping short-legged DPS characters into the enemy camp. And let's not forget about control mechanisms. Stuns and sleep effects can turn the tide in your favor. So, how does the scoring breakdown work? Characters scoring 10 points have multiple key mechanisms that make them top tier threats. Those in the 9 to 7 point range can still bring valuable tools to the table, whether it's performing wide area kills or breaking alert. Characters scoring 6 to 5 points have their uses but are more easily replaceable. Finally, characters scoring 4 points or lower are rarely seen in serious PvP matches. Let's take a look at the results. Taking the top spot, Tahir defines PvP. Li Lao joked about how there's only two types of PvP. PvP with Tahir or PvP without Tahir. His AoE speed buff can be deadly against teams that don't have him. He's also the game's best support unit. Akambe scores the same as Tahir, but for a different reason. He's got the game's strongest push skill and enemy displacement skills. His summons also assist in damage and provide protection, making him a character with multiple key mechanisms. Taking the third place, we have the game's strongest taunt tank, Pamina. She thrives whenever she's surrounded by enemies. Her defense increases up to 30% when surrounded. She counters with AoE attack that recovers her HP. Her signature weapon allows her to use her ultimate back-to-back. In the 9 point tier, we have 4 standout characters. Momo, who offers mobility and defensive support for allies. August, the nuclear weapon on the battlefield. Karis for a massive magic AoE damage. And Rawia Alter for deadly wide-range AoE nuke. Dropping down to the 8 point tier, we find unique characters like Shaklulu, who makes a great magic DPS, Alexi, who you definitely don't want to face in PvP, Nergal, who excels at breaking alert, Tidan, who can break alert on a wide scale, Leonide, who can push enemies around. In the 7 and 6 point tiers, we see characters that might not be common in PvP but can still shine. Savior the Vanguard can jump and sprint through enemy lines, while Iggy is versatile with the ability to kill and break alert. The 5 point tier features characters who still hold their own in PvP. For example, Guzman, who can pull enemies and tank hits, while Miguel can kick one enemy and blind several others. Facing these characters always leads to an exciting match. Finally, characters scoring 4 points or lower have significant drawbacks in PvP, whether it's needing warm-up time or being easily countered by enemy defenses. Using these characters might lower your chances of securing a win. It's also important to note that even though Layla and Tristan have yet been scored by Li Lao, they may end up rated highly. Layla for possessing the game's strongest alert skill, and Tristan for being highly regarded as the PvP goddess by so many players. Next up is the boss strategy score. The focus shifts to the highly variable environment of the Tower of Adversity. When evaluating characters, we first need to consider their strength and how much it's affected by this environment. For instance, Edda's wine barrel skill is powerful, but it gets crippled in the Tower of Adversity. Skills that reduce cooldowns or restore energy are also crucial, as they can boost damage output or sustain DPS characters over time, making those characters highly valuable. For DPS units, the main focus is on who can deliver the highest damage when fully buffed. Lastly, we look at the value of a character's buffs and debuffs. Characters scoring 10 points are those unaffected by Tower of Adversity environment. Characters in the 9 to 8 point range offer top tier damage potential or essential mechanism. The 7 to 6 point tier includes those in the second tier of damage or support. Characters scoring 5 to 4 points are more replaceable. Finally, those scoring 3 points or lower are likely to only shine in niche scenarios. Now let's dive into the score results for the boss strategy and dimension. Inanna and Coco both are unaffected by the Tower of Adversity environment. However, when it comes to clearing the Tower of Adversity, speed and efficiency are key, and Inanna has the edge in straightforwardness. In the 9 point tier, we have some DPS powerhouses. Nungal leads the pack with the most complete DPS setup, theoretically offering the highest single turn damage potential. Safiya and August join this tier, bringing both high damage and shield breaking capabilities. Karis is also here with a 420% damage boost against large-scale units and the strongest magic defense debuff in the Tower of Adversity. Dropping to the 8 point tier, we find core characters for boss battles. Homa stands out with the strongest physical defense debuff, while Hasna and Gloria excel in both damage and support roles. Akambe is one-man army, and honestly it'd be great if they release a post-battle damage statistic chart that includes summon damage under their owner, giving us a clearer picture of damage rankings and data. In the 7 and 6 point tiers, we see characters offering key mechanisms. Nono Will shines with injury transfer and reflection, and Fake Hall is an efficient shield breaker. Characters like Rawia, the light of free-to-play players when August isn't around, Beryl, who's solid everywhere, and Iggy, who often flies under the radar but packs serious damage potential, also makes an appearance. In the 5 and 4 point tiers, we have characters with excellent tanking abilities, though they may struggle in damage-focused environments. Some can deal solid damage while debuffing the boss's attack and defense, but compared to others, some of the old-timers might have to step aside. Finally, characters scoring 3 points or lower might be useful in specific stages of Tower of Adversity where class advantages are needed. However, their performance often pales in comparison to some SR characters. The final dimension is usage cost. If I had to weigh the 4 scores, I'd probably rank usage cost as the most important. The reason is simple. Taking a character from 1 star to 5 star takes about 3.5 months, and in that time, 7 new characters will be released. By the time your character is maxed out, who knows if they'll still be strong in the current meta. The first factor in determining the cost score is how many stars are needed to unlock all of the character's mechanisms. The second factor is the cost of engravings. While talent can be improved over time, maxing out engraving attributes requires millions of currencies. Finally, we consider whether the character has useful mechanisms at low star levels or if they are only viable at 5 stars. Based on these criteria, characters scoring 10 to 9 points are perfect right out of the gate at 1 star. Characters in the 8 to 7 point range unlock all their mechanisms by 3 stars. Those scoring 6 to 5 points need 4 stars to be fully effective. Characters in the 4 to 3 point range are usable even below 5 stars. And those scoring 2 to 1 points have significant power spikes only at 5 stars. Let's look at the results. 2 characters scored 10 points. Edda and Samantha both have complete mechanisms at 1 star. Edda's wine barrel, box, and AoE buff don't require stars or stats, while Samantha as a healer isn't very stat dependent, just give her energy and her teammates won't die. Inanna's got an almost complete access to her key mechanics at 1 star. Not being able to summon her guard more than once at 1 star put her in the 3rd place. The 9-point tier is the most crowded across all 4 dimensions, featuring 10 characters, most of whom are launch characters. It's clear the developers were kind to these older characters, as most of them unlock all their mechanisms at 1 star. As a result, they're usually ranked lower in priority for farming shards. The 8 to 6-point tiers include characters who unlock all important mechanisms at 3 stars, although they do get stronger at higher stars. Characters more reliant on stats score lower, while those with countermeasures score higher. The 5 to 3-point tiers consist of characters with high stat requirements. For example, Nungal and August need 5 stars to unlock key mechanics, just like Homa's energy steal and Akambe's energy pressure. Coco also shines at 5 star. While 5-star characters experience a transformation, they still offer decent combat power before reaching that level. Finally, in the 2-point and lower tiers, we have characters like Karis, who sees significant improvement at 5 stars, along with Alexi and Iggy, who also spike at 5 stars. They have high damage potential, but very few players have the patience to farm them to that level. Alright, that covers the 4 dimensions of character scoring. Next up, we're combining all 4 scores for a total ranking. A character might excel in one area and be a specialist, but only those who excel across the board can be true leaders. When we add up the scores, who will land in tier 0 and who will fall to tier 3? Let's find out. The first list is the no cost consideration ranking. This list assumes everyone is a whale, with all characters at max stars. In this scenario, no character is weak. They're all strong, including 5-star Mytha with her healing and durability. But there's still a massive difference in scores. For instance, Mytha's score is just 2.7, while the top scorer, August, has 9.3. A threefold difference. Who would you choose? 3 Mythas over 1 August? Probably not. Here's how it breaks down. Tier 0 includes 5 characters. These can perform exceptionally in any scenario with high deployment rates. Tier 0.5 has 7 characters, including Karis. Her main weakness lies in her basic attack and the 2-turn cooldown on her single target skill, plus her need for 5-star transformation. But at max star, she's still a powerhouse. I've included Agatha and Pamina in this tier because Li Lao had only finished scoring them after original tier list video. Agatha is a great DPS, buff and debuff support who can sustain herself. Agatha's damage output isn't as high as August or Sophia, which is why she's not in tier 0. While Pamina is the game's best taunt tank with a signature weapon that comes with exclusive effects for her, magic attackers are her natural enemy, and she's expensive. Tier 1 includes 5 characters like Nono Will. Her AoE damage, dodge, and poison butterfly give her excellent control. Shaq Lulu is a flexible and agile character in daily use, excelling in hit and run tactics. In PvP, her instant range control skill is valuable for interrupting guard type moves, and she also deals decent AoE damage that ignores protection effects. For boss fights, her damage potential is solid but requires high crit and strong buffers to maximize output. She unlocks her full potential at 3 stars, but to ensure sustained damage output, upgrading to 4 stars for the attack boost and 5 star to reduce skill cooldown is recommended. She can sing in PvP, tank in boss battles, and break shields with her basic attack, though she requires some skill to use effectively. Tier 1.5 includes 5 characters, with Edda dropping to this tier. This might be controversial. None of us expected the Tower of Adversity to nerf her barrel so much. Edda and Nergal used to dominate, but now their position are shaky. Tier 2 has 5 characters, including Lily Will. She's a beloved character with solid strength, whether using the Star Blast combo or the Devil Tarot. However, she doesn't stand out as much compared to the higher tier characters. Tier 2 also includes Cole, who was reportedly tier 0 at launch. In general scenarios, she's still tier 0 and useful when crit damage is needed. However, her stat dependency lowers her ranking. Tier 2.5 includes 4 characters like Miguel. Miguel is strong with a large aura buff, high mobility, and energy restoring support in boss battles. Tier 3 includes 6 characters, many like Garcia, but her damage is slow, though she provides isolation. Magnus might also seem underrated with decent damage and durability, but his replaceability is high. That wraps up the first ranking. Next, let's move on to the second list, the no PvP ranking. This one excludes PvP scores, catering to those who don't engage in PvP. Adding the cost score boosted some mechanism-heavy characters. Edda moved up to tier 0. Beryl becomes the dark horse in tier 0.5, bumping up from tier 1 thanks to her cost score. Her ease of use and great damage output make her strong in all scenarios. Tier 1 saw big changes, with the launch characters like Dandelion and Rawiyah rising. These characters were outstanding early on and still hold their place now. Dandelion remains a cornerstone in Ilia's hierarchy. Tier 1.5 includes a heavyweight August drop tier due to his cost. He's very expensive. You can only make the most out of him when he's at 4-star at the very least. Tier 2 also includes heavyweights like Akambe, who needs comboing with the Beekeeper staff for energy management when not at 5 stars. These extra costs lower his score. Tier 2.5 includes character like Magnus, who moved up due to his decent cost score. Tier 3 features Alexei at the bottom. His 5-star transformation is a steep climb, and without PvP, he's just a stat-independent tank. The second list saw significant changes, but skipping PvP means missing out on some fun. Who knows, PvP might become more important in future updates. Finally, let's look at the comprehensive ranking, which includes all 4 dimensions. If you dabble in PvP and care about cost, this ranking might be the most useful. I'll add new characters to this list as I review them. I've used Li Lao's latest character review of Pamina to extract this tier list rather than using his tier list from May. So this is the most up-to-date of his tier list. Let me know if you want updates for Tristan and Layla in the comments if you want more content about far future characters. In saying that, this is the tier list that I find helpful for myself, and I'd assume other dolphins and some low spenders who want to engage in competitive scene. Tyr is number 1 because he is the game's best support, defines PvP, and he's cheap. Sophia is tier 0 DPS because she's not as resource hungry as August. In saying that, August is worth the investment if you're planning to be more involved in a game. Rawiyah Alter is a must because she is the master for speed clearing with a ridiculously wide scale attacks that she can do over and over and over again in one turn at 5-star. Best Girl is still up there, so she's a great investment. Akambe and Pamina are highly dependent on whether you want to dominate in the PvP scene, assuming you have Tyr. Beryl is still a great magic DPS. Homa comes hand in hand with August to boost his damage output significantly. Nono Will is more of a control unit. Karis is a great magic AoE DPS at 5 star. Shaq Lulu can be a strong magic DPS when used correctly. Edda, if you're running a magic team, she's the best support. Simona, a very tactical unit with her mobility manipulation skill. Hasna for crit stacking. Momo for terrain kills and repositioning enemies. Dandelion is Dandelion. OG Rawia drops to tier 2 because I can't think of a reason why you would use her OG instead of her altar if you do have them both. Call is great, but there are greater DPS for bosses in the future. Samantha can still be a good sustained support. Nungal drops off because even though she still be great in Tower of Adversity, she is expensive. She wants her 5 stars. Alexi is very expensive, but he does have cool unlimited resolve mechanics. Agatha is a strong character with many advantages. She is self-sufficient, able to sustain her ultimate with her passive skills, and has excellent single target and AoE damage. Her large movement range and self-healing from her ultimate make her a reliable asset in any battle. While her stats aren't outstanding, her survivability and future potential with the addition of true damage skills make her a worthy investment, especially at 5 stars. So that concludes the ultimate tier list from the Chinese server. I'm sure there are many tier lists out there, but this is one where the author goes into details as to why he ranked a character a certain score with a specific scoring standard and data gathering. He also goes through extensive testing for each unit on the test server, so I do believe he's a very good source of information. Do check his channel out on Bili if you speak Mandarin. I'll be doing in-depth guides of the characters as they come in the global server. Thank you for sticking around. I hope the infographics I've created are helpful, and please do like and subscribe if you haven't. This is Potato Sourdough, signing off.